Thank you. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone, and I'm happy that you are here because I'm sure you have heard for Nigeria. And like you heard, I am Tassie Ghata. I have grown in the northern part of Nigeria for many years ago. And as we look at persecution in Nigeria, I want to start from when I was growing up. When I was growing up with my parents in a family of 9, I remember that my father would always come back home to talk about marginalization, and I was little, maybe 7, 8 years, but I remember it's always a prayer topic at the home, that Christians are marginalized, so that even when they are brilliant and they've gone to school, there is always somebody on top because of their religion, then they are on the ground. And for this many years, it continued. And I schooled in Maiduguri, Borno State, because I was born in Adamawa, the northeast part of Nigeria. And in Maiduguri, it continued the same. But before I went to the university, I remembered we had to run away at a time. In the 80s, there is this sect, Tassie, that also it's about religion. They are dealing with Christians and want to make the jihad by force. And at the time, we were for 3 days in the bush with the whole of my family when I was growing up. But all of it, I was hoping it would be over. But then I got married in the central part of Nigeria, the Plateau State. And the Middle Belt central part of Nigeria is some places you keep hearing about all the marginalization that continued even when I was a young person. If you are very conversant with Nigeria, which I am not repeating because you have heard so many people talk about this place, this Nigeria, and how much killings had been. It's so hard to know that banditry, herdsmen, and all the issues of crisis, religious crisis had continued. But more of it is about marginalization and that Christians are not supposed to live there. It is a country where we have almost 50-50, if not more. And my story is what I will bring to you this evening. I started with my background, and for you to know that I have seen that. Okay, maybe one small thing you need to also hear is that one time my daughter called me when all the kidnappings and killings and Boko Haram had started. My daughter, who was 6 years old, came to me and said, "Mommy, can I ask, when the Boko Haram or the kidnappers will come to our house and they want to kill us, would they ask which pattern of killing they will do?" I said, "Oh, sorry, I'm not sure they would ask." I said, "Why are you asking?" She said, "It's because she wants to be ready, because she was not ready to deny Christ. And she wished they would ask her whether to shoot or to cut her neck." And we prayed about it. We felt bad, but I'm happy that my daughter is ready. And this is the kind of life we had been living in Nigeria. Now but 3 years ago, kidnapping had been so hard even on the plateau, especially from 2019. And I talked to my husband. I said, "If I'm kidnapped, please." By the way, I am hoping I won't be kidnapped. But I told him, like my daughter asked me last time, that please, if I'm kidnapped, nobody should pay ransom. Because we have had so much of the kidnapped, and it's towards Christians and all about we are not supposed to leave. And I told him nobody should pay my ransom. They should just allow me to be killed. And truly speaking, hoping that I won't be kidnapped. And I went to the office also. I'm a missionary. And I went to the office and told the staff as well as the director. I said, please, if I'm kidnapped, nobody should pay ransom. Just pray that I will keep faith and die there. And my hope is that some Christians will give themselves up. And then the business, some of them will say it's a business, while some of them will say it's towards religion, it's a jihad. I said, whichever it is, if 200 Christians will give their lives, then things will change, hopefully. And lo and behold, 2020, I was just sitting at, we finished everything, time to sleep. And we live in a country home with my husband, and we decided as missionaries, let's live where we will be able to support and help people. Unfortunately for us, that is more, it's a Fulani area, Fulani Muslims, and we thought we would help them, and then they would see the love of Christ in us. But the unfortunate thing is that the natives of where we are staying kept selling the place to Muslims. Something you need to know about the central parts of Nigeria is that Muslims and Christians are not living together. They are not like living in the same area. If somebody wants to buy a house, he wants to know who are living there. But we are there, and maybe the Christians that are there with so many Muslims. We tried to speak love language, if you want to hear that. And love language, according to what the Bible says we should do. But in 2020, January, we were sleeping in the room, and we had 3 gunshots. Some were close. We knew all about kidnap, but never knew it was to our house. We thought we are being good to people. Why would they allow kidnappers? But when we just woke up around 12, we had the gunshot again right at our gate. And then they were trying to break the gate in. And I told my husband, I woke him up, hey, it's to our house. But all along we were thinking, not kidnappers, maybe it's just armed robbers. So my husband went into the bathroom to try to call the security while I was trying to dress up, see what is happening. But before I would say Jack Robinson, they are already in our room, in our bedroom. And meanwhile, my husband is in the bathroom. And they started shouting with all their guns, and where is your husband? I told them, I don't know what to say then than to say my husband is off to work. They deal with men more. Yes, they deal with women if they get them as well, because rape and other things are there. But I knew they treat men brutally also. So I tried to save my husband quickly and told them my husband is off to work. And he told me he had that in the bathroom. He knew that I'm telling him, don't come out. Well, the story is long because I was kidnapped twice, and then my husband was kidnapped the 3rd time when they came. So they did all they could. I tried to still be good, hoping that they will leave me alone since my husband is not around. And there are men in the house also in other rooms. But I told them I'm the only one at home, and good for the men, they were all under the bed. When the kidnappers went round, they found nobody, only me. And some of them started taking drinks from the refrigerator, and I told them, oh, is that okay for you? I was trying to be good so they would still leave me alone. But they carried me that night, and we had a long trek from that 12 midnight till about 5 a.m. And when we arrived at a place, they have my phone with them, and they said, give us your husband's number. They told me later, after giving them all I had, the snacks in the house and the drinks, and they even asked me for a bag and to take the drinks. I gave them a knapsack, and they said, okay, you are going with us. And I imagined going with us for what? They said, they are kidnappers, and they are taking me until 10,000, well, maybe 20, at that time, $20,000 is given to them. So that is when my heart sank. I knew I am in trouble. And they allowed me to wear shoes, which I'm grateful to God about. And after all that long trek, we stopped under a rock, at the foot of a rock there, and they said, you give us your husband's number and you have to cooperate, madam. And the cooperation is that whatever we say you should do, you should just obey us. And I gave them the number. They called him. The moment they called, they said, we are kidnappers. We've kidnapped your wife, and we need $20,000. If you are able to bring it, come and pick your wife even now. And right there, I was seated on the ground. They made me sit on the ground, and I shouted on the phone. I told my husband to remember not to pay anything. I told them we don't have the money. I just want to remind my husband that I said, let me be killed. I don't know where the courage is coming from because I am really afraid for two things. First, the killing, but another thing that I have seen happen with many women is rape. So I'm so afraid for two things. But I shouted on phone, and I got some slap. I am not telling you how hard it is to trek in the bush and to fall down and get up, and them slapping me to say, move fast, because they want to get to where they want to get before it is morning. So, well, they said my next cooperation is that I should allow them videotape me, begging the church, begging everyone that I need money, since we said we don't have the money. But I couldn't do that too. I refused that my picture will not go on media that I am looking for money. So we were there. For the first 24 hours, they tried all they could with slap, with everything. I refused. And I don't know what is happening back at home, but later on, their boss came. There were 10 people that came to the house, but I went to the bush with 8 of them. And their boss came with a cocked gun and said, they think I don't want to cooperate. And they told me from home, if I don't cooperate, they will just kill me. I said, well, in 24 hours, the first time I laughed. When I laughed, the boss called all others and said, come and see one mad woman here. That for all their kidnapping period, they would tell people, I will kill you, and people would begin to cry and ask to cooperate. But me, I told them, well, I laughed. And so the boss said, what are you laughing about? I told them I'm a Christian. And for me to die is gain. And to live is for Christ. And then I got an opportunity to start preaching. And I got a slap. That is not what they brought me for. They brought me so they can get money. And they have another message for us. But if we are paying them, then they would leave that one. And, well, we stayed again for the next 12 hours. I didn't cooperate, and it's hard. I have been there all the time, and just in an open bush, and if you know Plateau is a cold place, it can be 4 degrees in the morning if the place is too cold. But in just my small dress, I was there with them, and in the cold, and in the daytime, very hot also. And the next thing that happened was that, okay, they know what they would do to deal with me, and then I will die in that process. Their boss said they need to rape me. If all of them will rape me there, then now my fear comes bigger. And that is something I dreaded, even when I was at home. And I felt bad for many women that were kidnapped in Nigeria and raped, and some before even their husbands. So I sat down quiet, and for some time, their boss said, good for her. Now she has no mouth to preach or to talk. But I came up again, and the Lord helped me, and I told them, you see me as small. I told them, some of you, my last born is older than you. And they looked at me again, and I said, if you feel like sleeping with your mother, then you can rape me. Otherwise, I'm sure none of you would want to rape his mother. And that also pulled them off about rape. And the boss was angry, and that is when he went down and picked my phone and started calling my husband, and now they got the ransom. I was there almost 3 days. By the night of the 3rd day, I was begging God that I won't sleep there. I didn't eat, I was just seated there. Even if I want to pee, they would say, pee there, we will take off our eyes and we'll move away. And if I did something that they don't want, it's all slaps and abuse and all of that. So, but in the night of the 3rd day, I saw the boss came back laughing and jubilating with his gun, and he told me, come down, we are changing space. By the time I was following them, I saw a car waiting, and that was how a ransom was paid. The second time it came, just 9 months after. Before I left them, I told them that it won't be well with them unless they repent. They just laughed. And some of them said, two of them said, now that you are our mother, you said we are just like children. If you see us in the street, would you recognize us? I looked at them again. I said, sorry, I have many children. I might not recognize you. And we left. And they promised me that night that they would never come to our house again because we are living in this Muslim-dominated area. And I was grateful that we can live peacefully. But we went back to that house and our hearts keep sinking. We have so many things that brings trauma, any gunshots or any issues around. We were looking for a house so we can park out, but just barely 9 months after, we were seated in the room just around 8:30 p.m. We had no gunshots, but somebody at the window. And we saw flashlights, and we said, somebody is flashing the house, and we went to see. I told my husband, we have to take it easy. But sit down, let's study the situation. By the time my husband came back to sit on the cushion, a gun and a voice came out and towards the window. Just come and open this door or we just kill you there. And that is terrible again. So we opened the door, they came in, 6 of them again the second time, 9 months.